Espacio. What if the biggest question humanity has ever asked is built on a hidden logical mistake? For thousands of years, human beings have stared into the night sky searching for one answer. An espacio. One explanation powerful enough to explain everything around us. Why does anything exist at all? And almost every civilization eventually arrived at the same conclusion. Espacio, someone must have created all of this. It sounds reasonable. In fact, it feels almost impossible to deny. But there is one terrifying problem hidden inside that idea. Espacio. The moment you introduce a creator to explain the universe, you immediately create an even bigger mystery than the universe itself. And once you notice it, you cannot unsee it. Imagine something simple. An espacio. You are sitting alone in a quiet room late in the evening. A lamp beside you casts a warm light across the floor. You never questioned why the lamp exists. It is simply there when you need it. Espacio. But deep down, you know it did not appear from nowhere. Someone designed it. Someone shaped the metal, connected the wires, created the bulb, programmed the system controlling the brightness. An espacio. Everything in your everyday life seems to come from a creator. Buildings are constructed. Phones are engineered. Paintings come from artists. Music comes from composers. An espacio. Every complex thing we interact with appears to have an origin. So naturally, when human beings look at the universe itself, our minds do something completely natural. An espacio. We search for the architect behind it all. We see billions of galaxies scattered across unimaginable distances, stars burning for millions of years, planets moving with mathematical precision. An espacio. And laws of physics so perfectly balanced that even the smallest change could destroy the possibility of life. And instinctively we ask the question humanity has repeated for thousands of years. An espacio. Who made this? This is not a foolish question. It is probably the most human question ever asked. Ancient civilizations all over the world reached toward the same conclusion. The Sumerians asked it. Espacio. The Greeks asked it. The Mayans asked it. Every culture that looked toward the stars eventually imagined some higher intelligence responsible for existence itself. A powerful mind. A cosmic designer. An espacio. Something with intention. Something that chose to create reality exactly as it is. And honestly, at first glance, the logic feels impossible to argue against. Espacio. Every complicated thing we know comes from intelligence. A machine requires an engineer. A city requires architects. A story requires a writer. So if the universe is the most complex thing imaginable, espacio, surely it must require the most intelligent creator imaginable. This became known as the argument from design, and for most of human history it felt almost perfect. An espacio. But sometimes the ideas that feel most convincing hide the deepest flaws, because almost nobody asks the next question. Espacio. The moment people hear the answer, God created the universe, curiosity suddenly stops. The mystery feels complete. People emotionally relax because they believe the puzzle has been solved. Spacio. But think carefully about what that answer actually means. A mind capable of designing an entire universe would need to be unimaginably powerful. It would need to understand every law of physics. Espacio. Every particle, every galaxy, every force shaping reality itself. Such a being would have to be infinitely more complex than the universe it supposedly created. An espacio. And here is the question almost nobody wants to ask. Where did that complexity come from? If complex things require creators, an espacio, then a creator infinitely more complex than the universe should require an even greater explanation. Otherwise, you are not solving the mystery of existence. An espacio. You are simply moving the mystery one step backward. You start with an unexplained universe, then replace it with an unexplained creator and call the problem solved. But it is not solved at all. An espacio. The mystery has only become larger. And this is where everything begins to change. Because if God can exist without a cause, then the universe itself could also exist without a cause. Espacio. The exact same logic works both ways. And if the universe does not require a creator, then suddenly the entire argument changes completely. But this is only the beginning. An espacio. Because once modern science entered the conversation, humanity discovered something even stranger than mythology ever imagined. And what scientists uncovered about time, space, an espacio, and the origin of reality itself would completely transform the way we understand existence forever. If you're enjoying this journey into the deepest mysteries of the universe, an espacio, make sure to subscribe and stay until the end, because what comes next becomes even more mind-bending. For most of human history, people believed the universe had always existed. Espacio. The stars above seemed eternal, fixed in place forever. There was no beginning, no starting point, just an infinite cosmos stretching endlessly in every direction. But in the early 20th century, an espacio, everything changed. A scientist named Edwin Hubble pointed his telescope toward faint patches of light in the night sky and realized something extraordinary. Espacio. Those blurry shapes were not clouds or nearby stars. They were entire galaxies, each containing billions of stars of their own. Even more shocking, every one of those galaxies was moving away from us. An espacio. The universe was expanding. That single discovery completely transformed humanity's understanding of reality. Because if everything is moving apart today, an espacio, then traveling backward through time means everything must once have been closer together. Go back far enough and every galaxy, every atom, an espacio. Every particle of matter in the observable universe was compressed into an unimaginably dense state. This became known as the Big Bang. But most people misunderstand what the Big Bang actually was. An espacio was not an explosion happening inside space. It was the expansion of space itself. Before that moment, space as we know it did not exist. Neither did time. Espacio, time and space emerge together as part of the same event, and this changes the entire conversation. People often ask, an espacio, what existed before the Big Bang? But that question assumes time already existed before the universe began. According to modern physics, that assumption may be completely wrong. An espacio, Albert Einstein showed that time is not some invisible stage where events take place. Time is woven together with space itself. It is part of the universe, not something outside. Espacio. So if the universe had a beginning, then time itself may have begun at that exact moment too. Asking what happened before the Big Bang could be like asking what lies north of the North Pole. Espacio. The question sounds meaningful, but it assumes a framework that may not exist at all. And then physics became even stranger. An espacio. Stephen Hawking and physicist James Hartle proposed a model suggesting the universe may not have a sharp beginning in the traditional sense. Imagine the surface of Earth. An espacio, you can travel across it forever without ever reaching an edge. In the same way, the universe may curve through time without having a clear starting boundary. An espacio. Reality might simply exist without the kind of beginning human intuition expects. But the truly mind-bending part arrives when we enter the world of quantum mechanics. Quantum physics, espacio, the most accurate scientific theory ever created, tells us something shocking about empty space. Absolute nothingness may not exist. Even in a perfect vacuum with no matter, no light, no heat, spacio, and no particles, space itself is still active. Tiny fluctuations constantly appear and disappear. Virtual particles pop into existence for fractions of a second before vanishing again. An espacio. The vacuum is not empty. It boils with activity. This is not science fiction. Scientists have measured these effects in laboratories through something called the Casimir effect. An espacio, where quantum fluctuations create measurable physical forces between metal plates placed extremely close together. In other words, empty space is not truly empty at all. An espacio. And suddenly the old question changes completely. For centuries people asked, why is there something instead of nothing? But what if true nothingness was never possible to begin with? Espacio. What if the laws of quantum physics naturally allow universes to emerge spontaneously? In that case, existence may not require a supernatural creator at all. An espacio, reality itself may be the natural result of deeper physical laws operating beyond ordinary human intuition. And yet this creates another profound question. Where did those laws come from? Espacio. Why do the laws of physics exist at all? Now notice something fascinating. At this point, both science and religion reach a similar position. Espacio. The religious believer says God exists without needing a cause. The physicist says the laws of quantum mechanics may exist without needing a cause. Both sides eventually arrive at something fundamental. An espacio. But there is one enormous difference. Science produces testable predictions. It creates mathematical models that can be measured, challenged, and verified. An espacio, religion introduces an infinite mind whose properties constantly shift to explain every unanswered question. One approach expands human understanding through evidence. Espacio. The other ends the investigation by declaring the mystery complete. And as humanity continued exploring the universe, an espacio, scientists uncovered another discovery so strange that it almost looked like evidence for design itself. The deeper scientists studied the universe, the more unsettling reality became. An espacio, because the laws of physics appear balanced with unbelievable precision. Tiny changes to certain constants would make life impossible. If gravity was slightly stronger, spacio, stars would burn out too quickly, slightly weaker, and galaxies might never form at all. If the electromagnetic force changed even a little, atoms could not hold together properly. No chemistry. Spacio, no planets, no living organisms, nothing. This is known as the fine-tuning problem, and even many physicists admit how astonishing it appears. At first glance, spacio, fine-tuning seems to point directly toward a creator. It feels almost impossible that the universe could accidentally possess exactly the right conditions for life. Espacio. And this is where many people stop thinking. The conclusion feels emotionally satisfying. A designer must have carefully adjusted the universe to allow conscious beings like us to exist. But once again, spacio. There is another perspective hiding beneath the surface. You are able to observe this universe precisely because its conditions allow observers to exist. If the constants were different, an espacio, you would not be here asking the question. No conscious life would exist to notice the improbability. This idea is called the anthropic principle. It does not magically solve the mystery, an espacio, but it changes how we interpret it. Imagine millions or even billions of universes existing with different physical laws. In most of them, life would be impossible. They would remain empty, silent, an espacio, and lifeless forever. But eventually, somewhere among countless possibilities, one universe would naturally possess the conditions required for complexity and consciousness. Espacio. Any beings emerging inside that universe would naturally see their reality as incredibly special because only special universes can produce observers in the first place. And suddenly, an espacio, the need for a cosmic designer becomes less obvious. Modern physics goes even deeper. At the most fundamental level, reality is not made of solid objects. An espacio. Matter itself is built from invisible quantum fields stretching throughout space. An electron is not a tiny ball flying through the universe. It is an excitation in the electron field. Espacio. A photon is a vibration in the electromagnetic field. Everything you see around you, including your own body, emerges from these underlying fields interacting according to precise mathematical rules. Unespacio. The deeper we investigate reality, the stranger it becomes. The standard model of particle physics predicts the behavior of matter with astonishing accuracy. Unespacio, sometimes matching experiments to 1 part in a trillion. After the Big Bang, simple elements like hydrogen and helium formed first. Then gravity pulled matter together to create stars. Inside those stars, nuclear fusion forged heavier elements like carbon, oxygen, and iron. When massive stars exploded, those elements scattered across space and eventually formed new solar systems. Espacio, everything inside your body was created in ancient stars billions of years ago. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe becoming conscious of itself. Unespacio, the atoms in your brain were once inside exploding stars long before Earth even existed. Every breath you take contains particles older than human civilization, older than our planet, Unespacio, older than the sun itself. And yet, despite all this wonder, many people still feel uncomfortable without the idea of a creator behind it all. Why? Because uncertainty terrifies us. Unespacio, human beings crave simple explanations. God did it. Feels emotionally complete. It closes the story. It removes the discomfort of unanswered questions. Unespacio. But intellectual honesty demands something much harder. The courage to admit we do not yet fully understand reality. Science has never claimed to possess every answer. Unespacio. What makes science powerful is its willingness to say, we don't know yet. Throughout history, every time humanity explained something through evidence, Unespacio, supernatural explanations slowly retreated. Storms no longer required angry gods. Disease no longer required curses. The movement of planets no longer required divine intervention. Spacio. And now the deepest mysteries remain. The origin of the universe, consciousness, the true nature of time and space. These are not proofs of God. Espacio. They are frontiers of human understanding still waiting to be explored. The universe exists, you exist. After billions of years of cosmic evolution, Espacio. Matter organized itself into living beings capable of questioning their own existence. That is not meaningless. Unespacio. That is one of the most extraordinary things that has happened in the entire history of the cosmos. And perhaps the most incredible part of all, it may not have required an author. Only time, physics, and especially on the endless unfolding of reality itself. If this video changed the way you think about existence, subscribe now and join us for more journeys into the deepest mysteries of science, consciousness, and the universe itself.